So, generational wealth, more race hustle rhetoric coming right up. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Common Sense, Logic, and Reason. And as always, thank y'all for joining me today. Greatly appreciate it. I always do. So we're going to talk about generational wealth. Now, generational wealth is just another buzzword that blacks use to cry about racism in America. And it's basically an example of, you can say, some historical crime as well as end result thinking. But I would lean more with end result thinking, because really what they cry about is mostly to people today. In other words, now what is generational wealth? Well, generational wealth is this idea that somebody somewhere in the lineage of a family line got wealthy, they became rich and they got wealthy, right? Who then handed that money down to their children, who maintained it, who handed the money down to their children, and it was maintained. And then they handed down to their children, who maintained it, and so on and so forth. And the wealth could keep being handed down by generations. And again, what's the problem with that? What's the problem with someone handing wealth down to their children? Well, the answer to that question is nothing. Now, one of the families that people often try to point at when it comes down to generational wealth is the Trumps, because Trump's father, again, earned wealth. I'm guessing it started with his father, and his father gave him like a loan, $1 million loan, and inherited worth something like $7 to $8 million. And Trump took that and turned it to billions, and of course he's going to hand it down to his children. I don't see the problem with that. I mean, anyone should want to do that. But here's a problem with the black argument when it comes down to generational wealth. Now, as I said, the first problem when it comes down to generational wealth is that generational wealth has to be started with a generation. There had to be one generation that went out and earned the wealth, built the wealth to be handed down. Plus, they also have to raise their children in how to handle that wealth, because if not, those children can easily lose it just as quick as they gained it. The second issue with the whole generational wealth argument that just makes zero sense at all is because no one else's generational wealth is stopping you from building wealth so that you can start a generational wealth in your line. So instead of crying about the idea and notion of generational wealth, seems to me like any person should take that energy and try. If generational wealth was such an issue that you got to cry about it, then why aren't you out there building your own generational wealth? And if you are being held back from building that generational wealth, then my question to you is exactly how. And of course, you won't get any answer. So again, generational wealth is just yet another idiotic point, another point that the race hustlers, that black folks, the ignorant black folks who really never know anything, who just cry about something because they heard it. This is just another example of victimhood among black people, and one of the many reasons why black people aren't getting nowhere in this country, while people of other races, other countries, other regions, cultures come here and prosper, even if they come here with absolutely nothing. But again, generational wealth. So the next time you hear that nonsense, now you know, and knowing is half the battle. And as always, y'all, until next time.